Brought to you by Pope on a Rope Soap, the perfect stocking stuffer for the convict who has seen the light. Pope on a Rope Soap, when dropping that soap, is really not an option. A subsidiary of Slap 'em, Stick 'em, Pop 'em Industries. The Black Fly Joke.
What? Cable? No, we didn't have cable back in my day, son. We sat around the farm, watched the animals fornicate and stuff like that.
Oh, you can't say that, Grandpa. You can't tell little Timmy that.
What? Well, why not?
Not proper, Grandpa.
A moral story? I got a story for you full of morals. You want me to tell you a little story, Timmy? You would? All right. Well, you just sit back there and listen to old Grandpa tell you a story. A little story about a little black fly.
There was a little black fly, and he was just flying along, just minding his own business, hovering above this river, about 8-12 inches off the water. But what that little black fly didn't know was that there was a big old fish in that river. And that big old fish was eyeing that fly, just flying up there, and that fish thought to himself, that fly just dropped 6 inches. I'd jump right out of the water here and snag him up and have me a good old lunch. But what that old fish didn't know was there was a big old bear in the woods right next to the river. And he was watching that fish, watching that fly, and he was thinking to himself, that fly dropped 6 inches, that fish will jump right out of the water, and I'll scurry right over and knock him out of the air and onto the bank and have me a good old lunch out of that big fish. What that bear didn't know was there was a hunter up on the hill watching them with binoculars eating a sandwich. And he was thinking to himself, that fly dropped just 6 inches, that fish would jump right out of the water and snag that fly, and that bear would come scurrying out of those woods and knock that fish on the riverbank. And I'd drop this sandwich and pick up my gun and shoot that bear and have me a trophy. A grand old trophy. But what that hunter didn't know was there was a little mouse in the log right behind him up on that hill, just watching that sandwich, watching that hunter was holding. And the hunter was watching that bear, watching that fish, watching that fly. And that little mouse thought to himself, boy, if that fly just dropped 6 inches, that fish would jump out of that water. And that bear comes scurrying out of those woods and knock him onto the bank. And that hunter would drop that sandwich, pick up his gun and shoot that bear. And I could scurry out of this log and over and get me a sandwich and have me a big old feast. And be happy for the rest of the day. But what that little mousey didn't know was there was a big old putty cat just hanging up there in the tree, watching all of them. He was watching that mouse and watching that sandwich, watching that hunter, watching that bear, watching that fish. Just watching that fly just buzz along. And what that cat was thinking to himself was, that fly just dropped 6 inches. That big old fish jumped right out of that water, and that bear comes scurrying out of those woods. And that hunter would drop that sandwich and pick up his gun and shoot that bear. And that little mouse comes scurrying out to get that sandwich, and I jump down out of this tree and get the mouse and the sandwich and have me the glorious feast of all feasts and take me a good old afternoon nap. Well, what do you think happened next, folks? That's right, you guessed it. That little black fly dropped about 6 inches, and that fish come jumping out of that water and got on that fly, which made that bear come scurrying out of the woods, and he smacked that fish out of midair and right onto the riverbank. And just then, so that made the hunter, he dropped his sandwich, grabbed his gun, and boom! Shot that bear. Yeah, which made that little mouse come scurrying out of the log. And he was just about to get that sandwich, and that cat went, now! And he jumped at the mouse, and he jumped at the sandwich, and he overshot him. Oh, no! And he went rolling and stumbling and tumbling and fumbling and rolling down the hill and splash right into the river. Oh, man, that cat was mad. I tell you, you talk about the mother of all wet cat looks. Now, folks, do you want to know the moral of the story?
Now, little Timmy, you want to know the moral to this story? You would. Well, when the fly drops 6 inches, the pussy's going to get wet. What? I can't tell that? Well, what do you mean I can't tell that story? Ah, snap. Well, I'm going back to sleep. Leave me alone. Let me know who won the football game.